What's going on? Jake here with Uncommon EDC, and over the last couple days I've been super distracted. My thoughts have been with Randy over at Randy's WSG. So I thought for today's video, instead of the normal video, I would share the knives that I think of when I think about Randy. Now for some context, for those that didn't see the end of yesterday's video or Slip Joint Sawyer's post that I shared on Wednesday morning, we woke up to the unfortunate news that Randy is in critical condition. He's on dialysis, he's on a ventilator, and the prognosis did not look good. Now, we've had a couple updates since then. There was some slight improvements overnight on Wednesday, and then Thursday, it's really been more of the same, no drastic improvements or setbacks. And so that tells us that Randy's still fighting, very hopeful and confident that he's going to make a full recovery and get back to us. And hopefully when he does, he gets to enjoy this video while he's recovering. Feel free to leave words of support for him down in the comments or over on his channel. I know his mom's doing her best to respond to Facebook messages, Discord messages on his behalf with updates, but I don't really want to inundate her with messages, and so I'm sure he'll appreciate seeing those when he gets back, and hopefully we'll see him down in the comment section in the next couple of weeks. But with that being said, there's a ton of knives I think of when I think about Randy, and a lot of them are part of his collection, not knives that I have, so obviously I can't show those. There's a few springing to the top of my head right now, but these are knives in my collection that I think of Randy when I see them. And so we'll just dive right in. Up first is this Queen Cutlery doctor's knife with saw cut bone. Now the reason this one reminds me of Randy is this was one of my earliest slip joint, or at least traditional slip joint knives, probably one of the first 5 that I purchased. And when I got into slip joints, I really dove into it. I joined the Slip Joint Sanitarium, which is Slip Joint Sawyer's Discord server, and Randy is super active in there, and ever since then we've talked pretty much daily. And so this one was one when like I said, didn't have very many, and I was trying to check off as many boxes as possible. So I was looking for recommendations on inexpensive examples of different patterns and different cover materials. And so 2 of those items on my checklist, one was a doctor's knife, the other was saw cut bone. And Randy said, I think this one checks both the boxes, and it's only something like $13, I want to say I paid for it. And so I went ahead and picked it up, and it was such a great recommendation. I absolutely love this knife still. Great example of a doctor's knife. A little bit light pull, but excellent fit and finish for a $13 knife. And the covers are tremendous. I think these ones set the tone for what I look for when I look for saw cut bone covers. And that's kind of imperfect perfection, or perfect imperfection, whatever you want to call it. But if you look at this, the depth of the cuts is not consistent. The width between the cuts isn't consistent. Not even all the cuts go all the way across the covers. This looks like it was done by a human, and humans aren't perfect. Whether or not it actually was done by a human or done by a machine, it looks like it was done by a human, and I love the look of it more than that consistent depth and width between each cut that goes all the way across the covers. I think this looks infinitely better than that. And so was such a great recommendation, and every time I reach for this, I think about that time on the Discord, and that's when I feel like I was the most active. It was very active at the time as well. It was pretty new Discord at the time. And so just a really active time. It was a lot of fun times, a lot of joking and just fun conversations. And so not only does it remind me of Randy, it just kind of reminds me of that time in my collection journey. And so really fun one to start with. Now, next up is one that I have in a Randy's WSG slip, and this I think was one of the second or third ones he ever sent out. We'll get a little bit more into the backstory in just a second here, but before that, he made it for this knife, and this is the Jack Wolf knife, Pioneer Jack. And so this one was the first ever knife I received after joining the Jack Wolf Ambassador program. And so I got this, I was super excited about it, had posted my video, and Randy kind of jokingly asked if I would send it to him, and I figured why not, you know, I got it for free, why not spread the love, share it. I actually sent it out to a few channels, but Randy was the first one I sent it out to. He was extremely grateful. He was also extremely nervous, probably more nervous than I was, honestly, that it was gonna get like lost in the mail or something. I had no kind of worries that Randy was gonna do anything to it, obviously. I completely trusted him, and obviously the USPS can lose packages, but again, I got it for free. I had already made my video on it, so it wouldn't have been the end of the world. He was super nervous about it, and also just super grateful. I think he had mentioned at the time it was the most expensive knife he had ever showed on his channel, and so he made this slip specifically for it as kind of a token of his gratitude. And honestly, I appreciate it so much. Like I said, it was one of the earliest ones he did. He didn't have kind of the pressure down for the stamp. His stitch work has really been cleaned up a lot since then, and it has this great bead on it. But I thought it looked great, and honestly, being one of his earliest and seeing the progression, this one has a lot more sentimental value to me than some of the later slips that I received of him that maybe arguably were technically better made. But this one, you can see the passion in it, and it was so early in his leather making journey that I just think it's a lot of fun. So absolutely love this slip, and really cool that he was able to check this one out. We've kind of passed knives back and forth a decent bit since then, and in fact, he just checked out the Necronaut Bix blade over on his channel, and so we have both the slip and the knife there. Now, shortly after that, he had asked if there was anything that I had appeared on his channel, anything in his collection that I'd like to check out, and so I had looked through some of the recent videos at the time, and one that came to mind was something I knew I wouldn't have ever purchased. And so this is the Benchmade 940 Osborne, and he actually had a clone or a counterfeit of it that he got for I think $10 or something like that. And I've always been kind of against purchasing clones and counterfeits. I don't care what other people do, but I don't want to send my money to those companies. And so I thought it would be cool to check those ones out without having to give money to those companies, and so he agreed to send that over. That video did really well, and this is a kind of an important knife in my collection as well. This was a grail knife for a really long time. Before I had a YouTube channel, this was my grail that I ended up picking up eventually, and when I purchased this, I had never spent more than I think $110 on a knife, and this one was something like $200 or so, and so it was a huge purchase for me, meant a lot to me, and one that I had wanted for years. And so just kind of an appropriate one that it was already a sentimental knife to me, but then got to check out Randy's, and again, that video saw some success, got a lot of subscribers off of it. I think it was kind of a controversial video because it had a lot of comments from non-subscribers about whether or not you should be buying clones or counterfeits, and then people that aren't fans of Benchmade who say, yeah, you should buy them so you don't spend money to Benchmade. And so just kind of a fun kind of conversation piece, and it just added to the overall lore this knife has in my individual collection. Now, next up, we have another Randy's WSG slip, and so you can kind of see some of that progression. This one, he custom made for a specific knife that I had that the covers reminded him of this die job, so he did the die job, he stamped that dragonfly on there, and I thought about including that knife, but the knife itself really doesn't kind of spring me to think about Randy, except for that it has this slip for it. And I wanted to choose one that is in his collection that really resonates with him and with me. And so I chose the Rosecraft Blades Ocoee River Kayak. And so those that are familiar with Randy know this is probably his favorite Rosecraft knife and one of his favorite knives overall. And I know he loves the knife itself, beautiful apple red bone on there, and has that spade blade. But I think part of the allure of this knife, besides how much he liked the knife itself, was that it was a little bit decisive, and he enjoyed kind of the playful banter that came with just kind of messing around on the lives with the people who don't like this knife. And so it kind of developed a little bit of a cult following on the Discord. There was a lot of posts about it, joking around on both sides of the fence. And so Randy always loved this knife, and this is actually the first one that came to mind when I think of Randy. I went with the Queen first just because that was the first one that kind of really started that bond with Randy, but this is the first one that jumps to my mind. He absolutely loves this knife, and so couldn't make a list of knives that remind me of Randy without including the Ocoee River Kayak. And again, great looking case. I think obviously technically this one is a little bit more impressive than the original one, but the original still has that sentimentality to me. You can see the stamps are much better applied, the stitching is a lot more consistent, and has that really cool die job on it as well, so definitely required a lot of extra work. I remember when he made the slip, his fingers were dyed like that for a couple days, and so a lot of fun there. Now, last on the list, and then we're going to have a knife I'm carrying kind of to honor Randy today. A lot of the community is going to be carrying similar knives, so stay tuned for that. The last one on the list is this Mcnees PM Mac23 3.5, and the reason for this one specifically is because it's that Fallout edition. I know Randy loved this knife, and he has a slip with a Fallout theme that I absolutely love, and we kind of both enjoy Fallout, and so he had actually just reached out to me about borrowing this knife. He's like, I completely understand if you don't want to, because it's I think like $550 knife or something like that. But I told him I'd send it over. He had the Necronaut, so he asked that I didn't send it over until I got that one back. And so he's mailed that one out. Tim over at Tim School of Fish has that one now. But hopefully when he makes that recovery, I'm going to make sure he gets an opportunity to check this one out, send this over for him to check out. I had actually tagged him in a Kaiser post on Tuesday, and that was kind of where the concern started, because like I said, we talk nearly daily on the Discord server, and so to not hear from him for a day after I had responded to it was definitely a concern. And then obviously woke up the next day to that news. But no, he absolutely loved this knife, so another one that comes to mind when I think of Randy. So those are 5 knives. I probably could have done a decent bit more, but this video is already going to be decently long, so don't want to go too long. Let's get into the knife I'm going to be carrying today. And this kind of goes back to that Ocoee River and some of the comments I made about that. And that is this yellow Delaware Stockman, or Sowbelly Stockman. And so this one was actually a gift from Gunslinger Cal, but the reason I'm carrying this today, the reason a lot of the members of the community are going to be carrying this today, and this isn't something I came up with, I'm not sure who did, but Randy hates this yellow Delrin. He's really despised it, not a fan of it at all. He's tried to give it multiple chances and just has not come around to it. And so kind of a similar situation with the Ocoee River. It's one of those things that there's been a lot of playful banter about the yellow Delrin, about sending him knives that have yellow Delrin. Like he's like, oh, I want this knife, and people joke about sending him a yellow Delrin version of that knife rather than one that he actually likes. And I know he would really enjoy the banter that comes with everyone carrying these yellow Delrin knives. And so this is what I'm going to be carrying today. I'm going to put it into that slip and maybe even carry it throughout the weekend. So feel free to join in on that one if you are connected or follow him on either Instagram or Facebook. Definitely tag him in those posts. Like I said, once he recovers, he's really going to get a kick out of it. So should be a fun way to just kind of honor him and give him a little bit of a morale boost once he comes to. So that's it for this one. Obviously sending my thoughts out to Randy. If you're someone who prays, definitely pray for him. If not, send out your positive vibes his way. Definitely can use it. But like I said, I'm very hopeful and very confident that he's going to make a full recovery. So definitely rooting for you, buddy. Everyone, hope you enjoyed the video. Obviously, not the best tone. I tried to keep it pretty upbeat, even though it's a sad situation. But hopefully, like I said, things are going to be looking up. If you enjoyed the video, consider liking, commenting, subscribing, leaving your words of support down in the comments, because like I said, I think that's something he'll really appreciate, whether it be on this video or over on his channel. But thanks again for watching. I hope everyone's having a great one. Take care.